Welcome to Quarantine Cooking with Quincy, episode 1. Today we're going to be making a Three Sisters stew, which has sweet potato, onion, some green peppers, some garlic, some potatoes, some black beans, and tons of vegetables and corn. So it's going to be really good. So currently I'm heating up some oil, about a tablespoon, on medium heat. And soon we're going to add some vegetables. Okay, so it's starting to get warm. So here is 1 tablespoon of diced onion. I'll give that a stir. Okay, here is some green peppers. So two green peppers. Give that a stir. Here is 4 cups of sweet potato, or actually that's yam, but you can use sweet potato, yam, or even butternut squash if you like. And then finally you're going to have 2 teaspoons of minced garlic. This is from a can, but you can use just 2 cloves of fresh garlic. So give that a stir. Stirring constantly. You just want to let it cook for about maybe 5 minutes, depending on your stove top. And we will see you then. Okay, so after about 5 minutes, the vegetables are starting to soften a little, as you can see here, and they're starting to smell delicious. Make sure to keep stirring constantly. It's been about 5 minutes. So they're starting to soften, and so that's our key so that we can start adding some more things. So here we have, we're going to add 2 cans of diced tomatoes. There's 1. And there's 2. So that's 2 cans of diced tomatoes. I'm going to stir that around a little. And now we're going to add some corn. So this is 2 cups of frozen corn. So frozen works really good on this, but you can also just use fresh corn. And that will be about 4 ears of corn. We've stirred that in a little, and now we're going to add some black beans. So we're going to add a lot of black beans, but you can use pinto beans if you want. So we're going to use 4 cans of black beans. You might be thinking that's a lot of black beans, but I've made this countless times, and it is delicious, this much black beans. Okay, just got some cans, and I'm going to add another can of black beans. And again, this is a Three Sisters stew, so it's a bean corn, and squash, although we're using like a different version of this. We use some black beans and some sweet potato or yam. But the correct recipe is squash, but I like using sweet potato more. I'll go ahead here and stir it. How to do that. Okay, it's 2 cans. Third. black beans. Okay, so now we're going to add some spices once we stir this around a little bit. And now we'll be, okay, so we got that, and let's just give it a quick stir. It might be hard to stir because there's a lot of ingredients in here. And this recipe you can just have this recipe if it's too much. But I like to have a lot of the stew. And then just give it a tiny stir. And now we're gonna add some spices. So here it's 2 teaspoons cumin, 1 teaspoon oregano, dried oregano, half a teaspoon of pepper, and some salt. And you can just add the salt to your taste. So we're just gonna mix in the spices a little, and we're just gonna let it sit for about 1 minute, and then we're gonna add some chicken stock or vegetable broth. Okay, so we'll let this rest for about a minute so the spices can dig in, and now we're gonna add some chicken stock. So I'm going to add about 6 cups of chicken stock, but if you want like a less watery, liquidy stew, then you can add only about 4 cups. So here's 2 more cups. This is starting to smell delicious already, and we're just gonna let it bring to a boil. Okay, so now that our stew is boiling, by the way, it is on high. We are going to cover it. We'll turn down the heat first, so it just comes to a simmer. So that'll be about low for 2. It doesn't really matter. It just has to be simmering. You don't want it to come to a boil, and you don't want it to not come to a boil. So once we've done that, we're just gonna cover it, and we're going to let it cook for about 30 minutes. And so now you want to just preheat your oven to 400. And we're gonna make some cornmeal muffins. Okay, so we are making some cornmeal muffins right now. So in this bowl, I have a cup flour, 1/3 cup sugar, 1 1/4 cup cornmeal, teaspoon sage, a teaspoon dried thyme, and a teaspoon salt. So we're just gonna give this a nice whisk, mix it up a little. Oh yeah, and a tablespoon of baking powder. So we're just gonna whisk this up a little until it's nice and come together, and then we're gonna add some wet ingredients. Also preheat, if you haven't already, preheat your oven to 400. Okay, so so here I've got 2 eggs cracked, 3 tablespoons of melted butter, and 1 cup of milk. And so I'm gonna use a whisk, mini whisk. Shout out to Declan Buchanan for getting me this. To stir the egg up, and then we're going to add the milk and the melted butter to it. So while we're mixing, cornmeal muffins are a great thing to go with 3 Sisters stew. They're delicious to have, and they're just regular corn muffins, except they have a tiny bit of spice. So this is stirred enough. There's not much chunks of egg whites. So now we're going to add the melted butter. Then stir. And we're going to add the milk. And if it starts to look weird, that's okay. That's how it's supposed to be. This is looking really weird. The texture is even weirder, but that's okay. That's how it's supposed to be. If it's weird, that's good. Okay, now we're going to mix the wet ingredients into the dry. So here we have the dry ingredients that we have just mixed up, and then we're just going to add the wet ingredients into the dry. And we're just going to stir it up. We don't want to stir it too much because a key to baking, you don't want to mix it too much, otherwise just bad things will happen. So you want to mix it just until it's combined. And it'll start to look like a little weird, but it should be kind of yellow. And it should be about this texture. You don't want to stir it too much. I'm just stirring it just a tiny bit and just searching for flour. It's not mixed in, or so the dry ingredients is not mixed in. Okay. Okay, I can't say any more dry ingredients, so we don't want to stir it anymore. And now we're going to put it into some muffin tins. Okay, so we've made this cornmeal muffin mixture, and as you see, this the stew is cooking. So now we're just going to put some into, we're just going to evenly distribute it to 12 different muffin tins. And you don't have to use these paper muffin tins, but I love using muffins in these. But if you don't use them, just make sure to spray the bottom. That is the key thing. And so we're just going to quickly distribute this to all. I just like to do a small amount to all of them, and then just do a second amount, and then just see to add or remove more mixture depending on, to make it more equal. So once we're done with this, we're just going to put it in the oven for 12 to 15 minutes. These muffins are pretty quick to make, but they're very tasty. And it's really good to have with the stew, and you can even freeze some for later use. And yes, I'm just going to quickly do this, and then we'll put it in the oven, and we're done. So the stew is done, and the sweet potato has started to soften, which is the key that it's starting to done. So it's starting to become done. And so it's been about 40 minutes or 30 to 40 minutes in it. And the cornmeal muffins have come out of the oven. Let's try it out. It's delicious. Try the corn muffin. It's not just a regular corn muffin, because you include some spices in it, which give it some kick and some flavor. So it's delicious.
Oh, vegetables are really nice and soft, and it has a lot of flavor. It tastes the black beans really well, and it just all meshes together really nicely. I'll try the corn muffin. I like the different herbs in it. It brings it a lot of flavor.
Smells good. Very good.